Hello there, it's Tom and Magnolia here, and this is chapter 57 of Gunnerkrigg Court, Get It Together.
Hello there.
So in this chapter we're kind of getting back to Annie and seeing how she's doing with all the stuff that's been going on. And we catch up with her and Renard, sort of trying to focus on Annie regaining some of the control that she lost during the episode where she used her blinker stone to separate the fire part of herself. And that'll be the running thread through this chapter. And we see that she's been having a bit of trouble keeping her fire powers under control.
So here we're seeing Renard giving Annie some advice about, controlling her anger and controlling her powers and using her abilities, which are also things that we've seen her talk to Isengrin about. Would Renard have anything to say to Annie that Isengrin wouldn't say?
Well, I'm sure they would. The two of them have really different outlooks on life. And if I look at the both of them as kind of parental figures, then Isengrin is the stern dad and Renard is the fun dad. And while the basis of what they have to say might be similar, they will have different ways of getting that point across. But I think in this case, Isengrin and Renard would both agree that what Annie needs to focus on right now is sort of keeping her feelings in check, but not dismissing them.
Is it weird for you to draw Renard as a fox, or does that feel more like you're drawing the real Renard than his wolf form?
Well, since I've spent longer drawing Renard in his wolf body, whenever I do draw him in his original fox body, it doesn't feel like I'm drawing the real Renard, and sometimes that's something I need to keep in mind. But in these pages it was fun just to draw the two of them kind of swimming around in a blank space. I wanted it to feel very different to the regular Ether pages, mainly because Annie doesn't have her hair flowing around anymore. But it's definitely the same sort of communication and meditation that Annie is used to having in the past. And here, really, she's just trying to get back into it. And Renard does point out that when she gets used to this, she might even find that she has a better grasp on that sort of manipulation of the ether than she did before.
Well, in the chapter video for the breakout, because it was so action-packed, we didn't really get a chance to talk about what a step it was for Annie to just ask for Renard back and how her speaking up for herself kind of helped to begin to solve her issues. Not completely solve them, but to begin to solve them. So I'm glad it's being brought up again here.
Yeah, Annie has Renard back now, but there is still a separation between them, and Annie has decided that she wants to work on that by not feeling that she should have control of Renard back. So at this point, she just leaves control with Kat. And in the meantime, the real reason why Kat has come to visit is because they're going to go out bowling with their friends. And I like it when I get to do a chapter like this where we see the usual gang of kids who are really Annie's extended friend circle. And these have been the same group pretty much ever since the Power Station chapter. So it's nice to catch up with them all again.
Well, you said earlier that Renard is kind of the fun dad, but he also has a worrywart aspect to his personality, doesn't he? Especially when it comes to Annie's romantic life.
I suppose. He can get pretty protective of Annie. Again, in a different way than Isengrin would be protective.
Would Isengrin give a damn about whether Annie's dating or not?
No, I guess he wouldn't. But I think he would be interested in the person that Annie was dating, just to make sure that that person measures up. But they get down to things and go through the motions of learning the game and giving me the chance to draw the kids just hanging out and just being dumb kids, really.
How much do the kids know about Renard's nature? Because I remember Jack had to sort of hack into things and look up to find out the history of Renard and what happened and everything.
I bet at this point the kids don't really know exactly why Renard is who he is, but they just know that he is somebody that Annie hangs around with, and to them it's, if it was strange at some point, it's no longer strange,
Sure.
And there's plenty of strange things happening in the school that her having a talking wolf dog probably isn't that big of a deal anymore.
Does he just look like a wolf dog to them though, or can they tell that he's a stuffed creature?
No, they'd be able to tell that he was a stuffed creature.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
And Path especially likes hanging out with him because he is still an animal.
Yeah.
And I've always thought that there was a little connection between Renard and Path because of her connection with animals.
That's cute. I love this page.
Yeah, this page is good fun.
It's also kind of nice seeing when Annie's not very good at something.
Yeah, but this was just a nice little scene to show, again, that her lack of control over her fire powers are really not doing her any favours.
I thought the whole thing of using the ball to push the pins over was a nice way to change Annie's perception of the game.
Renard's just using the rules of the game to give Annie a framing, to take her mind off the specific goal of keeping her powers in check and using them to accomplish a task. And with this, she's able to start getting a handle on her powers again. And after that, we get to the reason why all the kids have got together, and they go through a process of manufacturing a situation where Winsbury and Annie are alone together.
Were you hoping that longtime readers would be afraid that Winsbury and Jenna had broken up?
Yeah, I thought that would be fun to play around with. And while we know why the kids have gotten together tonight, the readers don't really know what the situation is. And so at this point, we're about to find that out. And I guess I wanted to mention that when Winsbury brings up the fact that Annie flipped him over in year 7 and that he thought that she was pretty cool after that, he's actually being earnest about that. And for me, that was really the time that I kind of rejected the idea of just having Winsbury as just the bully character and wanting to do something more with him. So I've always felt that was a turning point in their relationship. And there's something that I've always kept in mind. And I just felt like I wanted to bring it up here directly in the comic.
Well, I think Winsbury comes across as very earnest and likable here because he's clearly not trying to, like, pull one over on Annie. He's just sort of muddling his way through this.
Yeah, the point of this whole charade really is that he's backed himself into a corner that he's not been able to get out of. And it's a little bit a game of chicken between Winsbury and Janet to see who's going to fold first.
Well, what I think is funny and kind of sad is that the 2 times that a guy has been about to tell Annie that he liked her, it turns out that he was really relieved that he didn't have to go through with it.
I know, I guess that's just kind of a reoccurring situation with Annie.
Poor thing.
But it does mean that the biggest secret in the entire comic is brought out, and Annie realizes that Winsbury and Janet have been dating this whole time.
I really love the panel where they put a 2-person play about being married and made everyone watch for 3 hours. I guess it's just me saying this joke is funny, so I'll say the joke again, but it was pretty good.
Yeah, I suppose the whole scene is just a setup to bring to light probably the worst kept secret in the entire school. The fact that the 2 of them are going out with each other. And really there is no reason for them to keep it secret. I just remember being in school, sometimes even a mild secret will seem like the most important secret to be kept, and if anybody ever found out, then that would be your life over. And while that might not be the reason why they keep the relationship a secret, it's definitely something that they hold very close to their hearts and their relationship.
But I think this chapter also does a good job of showing that, sort of subtly, that Annie was kind of on a hair trigger, but when she comes to be in a better place with herself, she can handle small disruptions that happen when she couldn't before.
Yeah, really that is the mechanism for the plot of this chapter, is that Annie realizes that rather than being annoyed that she's being pulled into someone else's situation, she's having a nice time and she's getting together with her friends and realizes that she's not had any flare-up here. And she's just kind of enjoying the mild drama that she's taking part in.
Even though Annie seems very detached from, romance and drama like that, I wonder if she took a certain pleasure in walking back to join the group all coy like that.
Yeah, I bet she did. I'm sure she enjoyed being the centre of attention for something positive for once. And she even lets Renard spill his heart a little bit before letting him in on the secret that he's got nothing to worry about. And here he knows when to back off and just let Annie have some fun with her friends as the day out comes to a close.
To the reader, Annie's extreme lack of interest in dating or things like that, it's a little bit something that she seems to be guarded about. But we also have seen in previous chapters that Annie and Kat do talk about a lot of things that we, the reader, aren't privy to. Do you think Annie would have discussed her thoughts about dating, for lack of a better term, with Kat further than what we see here? Or is it kind of a mystery to Kat too?
I'm sure they've talked about stuff like that for a long time, but just like with a lot of Annie's quirks, at this point, Kat knows that Annie is just someone who doesn't really talk about that kind of thing. And so she knows that it's not something that will really be brought up, which is probably why Kat was so excited to set up the evening, when she thought that somebody might actually be interested in Annie.
And was this scene with Annie and Kat an intentional reference to that flashback scene with Surma and Kat's mom?
Yeah, it was directly supposed to evoke that scene. But also show that while they might be in a similar situation to their parents all those years ago, they are their own people and they have their own concerns, and they're getting through life in the court in their own way. And this little bookend here is just tying up the situation with Annie feeling that her classmates in the younger class that she's in now are kind of a bit apprehensive of her.
Well, I remember when these pages came up, you told me that you were afraid that you hadn't gotten the point across or communicated the point as well as you intended, but I think it comes across nicely that Annie being in control of herself makes her a bit more mature and kind of, shows a better side of herself. Is that what you meant to show?
Yeah, that is what I was trying to get across with this whole side story here. And the whole chapter is just a look at the steps that Annie is taking to get back to the Annie that we know. And with that story over, this bonus page was just something that I felt that I had to bring up because I felt that I probably hadn't conveyed the fact that Willie and Janet's relationship was still a secret, because as the pages were going up online, I did see a few comments from people wondering whether it was still a secret or not.
I remember that I read the pages ahead of time and kind of encouraged you to do a page like this. And I'm glad you did, because I think this page is pretty cute and funny.
And there you go. Come back again for chapter 58, A Big Day.
Bye!